Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are dipping our toe into the actual indie comic world. Now, we've read indie comics before that we've said are indie, but by that, we just meant they were not Marvel and DC, generally. Like, Image is indie, and, IDW or other companies are indie. And, I mean, they
I feel like some of them have
ish.
been, like Brat Pack was, I feel like that's indie, right?
That is indie.
Beach?
Brat
Yeah.
Pack is definitely indie.
Okay.
Because that was printed by Tundra in 1991 or whatever, and that was not a big press. So,
Gotcha.
but this is the actual, self-published.
This is
a dude makes a comic, gets it printed, somehow gets it onto shelves in somewhere. I don't know where these were, put out, or how comic book stores ordered them.
seems like Ohio, somewhere random, and it just picked off.
I don't know. I think he was able to get them in Diamond or something like that. Which Diamond is the distributor for,
okay.
was for.
Yeah.
So back in the day when Diamond and there were other distributors besides Diamond, then Diamond somehow became a monopoly and was the only place for 20 years, and that just recently ended. But before that, there was multiple people that you could get. You could just say, "Hey, will you sell my book?" Or will you distribute my book? And they are like, yeah. And then they put it in their magazine that comic book stores would order from. So you could get it through that way, which is basically or even before that, you could do like Ninja Turtles did, where they just put an ad in comics for if you want cool Ninja Turtles with this cool art, buy it here, and then they send a check to our address, and then we'll send you the book.
Oh man, the days of send a check to
Yes.
P.O. box,
And that fucking worked.
For real.
People read that and were like, I need this book.
I did that.
Store.
I don't know how many times for the dumbest stuff. Not
Right,
even
for
just comics.
X-ray goggles.
Yeah,
trying to look at
exactly.
naked ladies or something. So. But yeah, that's how in the 80s and 90s. This started in the 80s. It was okay. So not Ghost World. Ghost World did not start in the 80s. That is the book we're doing. I don't know if I've said it yet, but
oh yeah, no, we didn't yet. So we're doing Ghost World.
We're doing Ghost World by Dan Clowes. I believe he had a series. I think it started either in the late 80s, early 90s, called 8 Ball. And it was like an anthology alternative comics book where he would do little strips or little vignettes of different characters. So he has Ghost World is one of them. He had another one called Poussey, which we are going to do eventually as well on this because it's all about the comic book industry, which is pretty funny. He also did, what was the other one? Art School Confidential. That's another movie that came out from his stuff.
Okay.
So so he's got a couple pretty big little strips, or that I guess I don't know what they'd be called. They're little 4 or 8 page comics that are when they put them all together, the issue is 30 pages or whatever of 8 Ball is the name of the book. But then he ended up reprinting all this stuff in separate volumes for the actual full.
Because they got popular enough.
Yeah. So and then this in the mid 90s, so Ghost World is still going on. It got popular with celebrities somehow. So I don't know how, but the beginning of this book, or the beginning of the first printing of Ghost World, not the one I have, I don't think. Is it the one I have? No. The I guess the first printing of the first trade of this, it has Crispin Glover did the intro for it.
Oh wow.
No idea why. It's also unreadable. It doesn't make any sense at all. But as you would imagine, Crispin Glover's intro to the book would be.
I met the man. He was very nice, but he
eccentric.
He definitely came off as eccentric and a living wax figure.
There you go.
Is how I would put it.
Perfect.
Again, very nice man, but he was definitely odd. But I did go see one of his one of his personal made movies. So
yes,
it was odd.
Also, if you don't know who Crispin Glover is, he is the dad on Back to the Future
and creepy thin man from the Charlie's Angels movies from the
Oh
early
yeah, I
2000s.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Ah!
And what else is he in?
Oh, he did the
Willard
yeah,
movies.
Willard movie.
Yeah,
the
the Willard
remake of
movies.
Ben.
He's in a lot of weird stuff. He's also
He does.
in which one is it? He's in one of the Friday the 13th movies. I think it's 7. He's in 7.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's 7 because that's the one with the telekinetic girl. I'm pretty sure.
Isn't he in American Gods as well?
I don't know.
Okay, I remember. I thought
It
I
is.
remembered him.
I've never watched that show.
Okay.
So.
Anyway,
so yeah, this book, the Ghost World, is like the collection of all those little vignettes from the comic book called 8 Ball. I think there's 18 issues total of 8 Ball, so he's got a lot of mileage out of all this. And those were like, I think it's like 18 issues over 15 years or something. You know, like this is him doing everything, like the drawing, the inking, the lettering. Everything, like everything is all him. So that's the one cool thing. Also, I don't know if you noticed, there's like it's not just black and white. There's like one color through this whole thing. This is not how it was originally printed. It was different colors originally. Some of them were orange, some of them were whatever. Like each one would have a different color. But I guess for this volume, he just wanted it all to be like a turquoise or like a bluish green color over it. And how they used to do that in the old days was you took a piece of acetate that was a color and you had to cut out around the white.
oh my god!
So he has like in the original art, it's like here's your black and white line art, and then he would do like graphics and stuff in it. So like where the letters are that blue, he would have to cut that white out around it, and then there wouldn't be anything on the paper. It would just be that, and then he would do the inking lines behind it if there's any detail like scratches and stuff. So it wouldn't look like the word until he put this, acetate on top of it.
Wow.
It's insane. Like I was like, what the fuck? Like I didn't know they did any of that stuff back in the day. So it's apparently like it's a dead art. Like you can't get these sheets of acetate anymore. And why would you do that when you have Photoshop and you can just go like blue? Like, you know, but apparently you took a razor blade and you cut very meticulously every detail you wanted to be
That's
blue.
insane to think about now for even like a one comic, let alone like a whole trade of something.
Yes.
Goodness.
So over many, many, many years.
Yeah.
So he is very meticulous. He is known for his lettering. His art is it's very precise and stylized. Like everybody looks like a caricature of a person.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like especially like the people that he doesn't like, or like the characters that are like side characters that are like weirdos. He makes them fucking weird. I think that's funny. The two main girls in this are definitely the most normal looking people, and then everybody else just has the weirdest face or foreheads
they all have extra defining features for sure.
Yes, for sure. That's the one thing I noticed. Like, and I would say like a lot of people would probably look at this and be like, he draws ugly people, and I would dare to say he draws real people caricatured. Yeah, and it's not the caricature that makes him ugly. I think he goes out of his way to draw him realistic, but like still cartoony in his style. But he gives them flaws. He gives them freckles. He gives them pimples. He gives them, open mouths when they breathe. All that kind of stuff. So it's a very interesting design.
Like I said, I've seen similar faces of probably everybody in these.
Yes,
like, for real.
And I mean, when he drew this, I don't think he had like models necessarily for like actors that he was. Because he didn't know the movie was going to come out when he started this. So,
no way.
So, the people that they got to be in the movie, like Steve Buscemi plays a guy. I'm like, that is the perfect casting for that dude. Like, and it's like the drawing is close enough that you're like, I could totally see that. But like, it's almost.
But there's no way
it's almost like he cast them. Yeah, it's not like it's not the Sam Jackson as Nick Fury thing either, where they're like, we're just going to put Sam Jackson in this comic book, and then 10 years later. We're making a Marvel universe. Well, guess what? It's going to be
Sam Jackson
because he's an actor, and this worked out nicely. So yeah, it's not this situation. I don't think. I think he just was making comics and was drawing weird people, and then it just so happened there's a lot of character actors who are also weird looking that could be in this movie. So yeah, and this book is not traditional as far as storytelling. So we're not going to go through it like chapter by chapter.
No, this very much felt like you were dropped into like different parts of hanging out, different conversations they were having. And
each chapter is a different time in this summer. So this is the summer for two girls. What are their names? Enid and
Rebecca.
So Enid and Rebecca are friends. It is the summer after they graduated from high school, and they don't know what they're gonna do.
Very typical, like teenage, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Everybody's had that thought for some time.
Yeah, and like they hang out, they like each other, they're friends, but it does definitely seems like like eventually they just kind of grow apart over the summer because they kind of like they both have different goals in life.
And they kind of realize the idiosyncrasies of each other don't quite like there's things that like they bother things them about each other still.
That and like also just so there's this whole like character of the town that they live in that's just like if you get stuck here, you're just gonna be stuck here forever. It's like a time loop. This just drains the life out of everybody. So if you're not gonna get out, then you're just gonna end up being one of these characters that they talk about. You know, so like one of the other townies or something. So they don't want that. Like Enid specifically is very like counterculture, and she's got her style. She's a hipster. This is the book that made hipsters. I'm gonna say that like you read this. This came out in the 90s, cut to 2000 when I'm in high school, and I'm like, oh my god. That's where these people came from.
Oh, that's true. Like
people who think they're too cool for school, they're gonna make fun of everybody else. Everything they like is cool, and it's so old and funny, and it's ironic. Everything's ironic. I'm wearing these sunglasses ironically.
And then when the other people start to like that stuff, like I liked it first, it was, and now it's not cool anymore.
Yes, exactly. That is these girls, specifically Enid.
Yeah.
To a T, which is really funny to think about because I think he wrote this. With characters in mind. And the other thing is like, he is not writing this because he thinks these kids are cool, I don't think, or I think he knows how fucked up they are. He's just going with these characters. So he created two characters who are disillusioned youth, and he's following them to their logical conclusions.
Yeah, I don't think he's telling like, a specific story about someone he knew or like, it literally, this doesn't feel.
I'm sure these are people he's known.
Yeah,
like, or a lot of it's from that. But like,
but that's what I mean. But what I'm trying to articulate is that he doesn't feel like he's writing like this fucking person I knew story and like let me tell you about them. It just feels like normal people. It just literally feels like a slice of life from the the hipstery kind of generation, and it's literally just like. Dropped in, watched, like we're a fly on the wall of this, these two friends and the weird shit that happened to them this year, and then and we're done.
Yeah, and
like,
there's not really a story per se. There is some connecting elements, but for the most part, this is like you said, just a drop in a day in the life of these kids every now and then, till we get a kind of closure on the summer at least.
Yeah.
So, but it's not like. We're not like finding out everything about these people, and you're just getting little vignettes kind of in their life. One thing I did like about this this special edition that we have, because it was made after the movie, so they have a bunch of movie stuff in there.
You should point out this is your wife's comic.
It's my wife's comic because she very much loved the movie when it came out. She was a girl in her teens when the movie came out, and I can only imagine she was like, I like these people, these girls or whatever. Like this, and me and John were talking about this. If you are a teenager and you read this, you're like, these girls are so cool. I fucking hate everybody too. Like, these kids get me. And then when you're older and you read it, you're like, these kids are fucking terrible. Like, I would hate all these kids if they were like, I would hate myself in high school.
Oh yeah. We as we were talking through this, I was thinking some of the decisions they make, I'm like, why would they do that? Matt's like, you got to think of it like the teen. I'm like, oh, that's right, because they're freaking teenagers, and I made some of these same dumb
literally,
decisions.
We've done the same things with these kids. I was very much an Enid person, but only with like Metallica or metal.
Yes.
Like in high school, if you didn't like Metallica, metal, any of that shit, I was like, go fuck yourself. I would wear jeans and only like music shirts and stuff, and I'd wear like jackets. And I was in Hawaii, so that was like 85 plus degrees year round.
You're sweating a lot.
I was sweating a lot because you got to keep the aesthetic. You got to wear a jacket with patches on it, so everybody knows that you like these bands and shit. Like, so stupid, so stupid.
And I have to make a correction, because last time we said before we were this like I'd never like read this or watched the movie, and I was talking to my wife after I read this, And I was like, yeah, it's so wild. Like, I definitely am interested to see the movie now, too. And she's like, we already saw the movie. And I'm like, what? She says, yeah, that's Melissa's favorite movie and your wife. And she's like, we sat down and watched that with them one time. Like, and I'm like, I have no recollection of this movie.
None at all.
Even reading this did not jog my memory at all.
So what you're saying is it had a really deep impact on you.
That makes me feel really terrible.
Yeah.
Melissa's going to have to reshow this movie. But I'm coming in with fresh eyes.
You're going to have to watch it on your own because I think Melissa's going to be like, you don't remember it at all? That's your fault.
Yeah.
Watch it yourself.
Her opinion of me has dropped down.
Yes, it did.
Wow. John doesn't
I can feel it through the wall.
Through the walls.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was going to say is like the beginning of this has, hey, sorry about that noise you might have heard in the background. We had my wife was making noise. Probably because she heard you talking about not hearing that or not watching that movie.
Probably.
So anyway, it should have stopped now. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, so yeah, the reason why I brought that up for like this is after the movie came out because he does like a little comic at the beginning of like where they ended up. I don't know if you read that. I think it's it's even before. It's this whole like before the introduction. There's like it's like 3 little stories of like at first it's like where are they now, and you're like, oh, this is like this is the stamp of what happened to them, and then it goes like or you know, like so it keeps doing like different versions of where they could be now. So he doesn't answer it, which I thought was nice. It was kind of a cool. You still get to think of your own like story for them. It's not like set in stone by the author.
Nice.
So yeah, we could just start off. We'll go through like little sections of these vignettes. You know, anything that stands out to you that we need to call out. But I will say this is kind of hard to get to. Like you have to have an actual physical copy because there's no digital versions of Daniel Clowes' books. I guess I don't know why. It seems kind of annoying as like someone who wants to read it, but like. Probably because he is also a bit of a hipster or something. like
you want to read that digitally? You have to get
my work is meant
for the
paper. All right. So I don't know if that's it. I'm just putting that in those words in his mouth. But I did find it weird that none of this is available digitally.
I did like that he is in his own story somehow. So I thought that was fun. But we'll get to that.
Yes. He does well. You don't know, but at the end of Animal Man. Grant Morrison writes himself into the story as well. So,
oh, nice.
There's a couple comics where that happens. But anyway, so we start off with Enid and Rebecca. They're watching comedy, and it's like the hackiest comedy you've ever heard. Like, hey, my arms are tired. I flew in here. Whatever. Like, I flew in last night. My arms are tired. And just stupid.
My wife. Take my wife, please.
Yeah. Just hacky material. And they're like, oh, my God, this is so bad. And they're like, but actually, it's good. I'm going to say this is my favorite comedian because it's ironic. Like, they're not say it's ironic, but that's why. Like, a lot of the stuff that they do is if I tell people that I like this thing that's terrible, and I mean it, like, it does become my favorite thing, then I will be cool because, you know, I don't know.
In my mind,
because it's ironic and it's funny to me.
I like that they use this phrase, or at least Enid does a lot. She's like, that such and such is like God, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
you are my God.
Yeah,
like,
to state something is like just amazing to her.
Yeah, so they do.
Ironically,
like, that's kind of what these girls do. Is specifically Enid will people watch and like judge the fuck out of them and make stories up about their lives, and then like judge them based on that story, and then tell Rebecca, and then they'll spend time like in a diner watching people and making fun of them and following them. It's just very weird. Like, but I guess it's what are you supposed to do in this town? This nothing town.
Well, and who hasn't people watched? But well,
she goes to it. Like,
I
would say the first part of this where she goes to a diner. Enid goes to a diner and she's like, oh, this is the same night that she's telling Rebecca while they were watching TV. But she tells Rebecca what she did today in the diner. And she's like, oh my God, did I tell you I saw the Satanists again? And she's like, Satanists? What? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, there's this Satanist couple. I think they're sisters or something. Or no, she didn't say that. Someone else said. Yeah, and she's like, that's. She doesn't know anything about them, and she's at
like,
all. She's
they're
assuming they're
Satanists. And then I guess somebody had overheard her say that at the diner after they had left, and they're like, I like to pretend that they're brother and sister.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's, that's, how could you say that?
Yeah,
Even though she's doing her own version of that.
And the only reason I could think why she would call him a Satanist is because he's bald and has like a goatee, so he kind of looks like Anton LaVey or something. But then the lady he's with looks nothing like a Satanist.
Yeah.
So it's just super weird. They're just a couple that go to this diner, and she's like, fucking Satanists, Like, they'd be like, just you look at anybody and you just make up some story about their life. So, and it's just about them judging people. That's like, this whole book is just Enid and Rebecca judging people. Anything about that first one?
I just that every time everything on the news, they're like flipping through the TV, and every news story that comes is about like death or suicide.
Yeah.
It's just though very much like life sucks kind of stories. So like, of course that that's portrayed in that's all they see in the news. I mean, that is pretty much all the news reports nowadays. But I just thought it was funny for the comic.
Yes. Then like she also talks about this guy at the diner that looks like Don Knotts, who is, if you know the movie, he is played by Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. Okay, so the character is Bob Skeetus.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what his name is. I think his name is Bob in the movie, but I can't remember. But he, in this, there's no like overarching story where he like hangs out with her or anything. He's actually more of a creepy guy in this because he kind of, I won't say he stalks her or whatever, but like she sees him, she talks to him. Isn't he the one that suggested they're incest kids, or is that someone? Or,
I think that was someone else.
Okay.
But he does the psychic like palm reading.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, I think she talks to him, and he says like, "Oh, I read." Oh, that's what it is. Okay, so he goes to her. Enid is having a yard sale. Of her like stuff, like her kid stuff. We'll say like when she was a kid, and she's selling stuff that does mean something to her, but then. Like she's too cool for school is what it is. Like she wants to pretend like, no, I'm over this. I'm an adult now. I don't need this stuffed animal. But then like Don Knotts comes over, or Bob, I guess, and he comes over and he just happens to see her, and he's like, oh, hey, from the diner, like, hey, if you ever want your palm read, like I'm a...
Yeah, he gives her a card. Is like, you should, to get a full experience, you have, come to my place or whatever.
Yeah, so it's
very
kind of like,
creepy.
Is this guy hitting on her or whatever? It's very weird. And he doesn't end up buying anything either, so she's pissed about that.
He doesn't, but he asked her. Someone asked about like how much this thing is, and then she's like, "Oh, that's actually not for sale."
Yeah,
and so it's like, again,
it's out, but it's not.
Yeah, ironic, but also like I'm selling these things. Oh, but I'm not really selling these things.
Yeah, and then like she wants the satisfaction of people wanting it, and her being like, "No, you can't have it." So, and then the thing is like. How much does she really value it? Because she leaves, because she's like, oh, Rebecca, it's almost time. Like Rebecca comes by and she's like, oh, we could go to the diner and maybe we'll catch the Satanists. And then you can see them from what I've been telling you from all these
She's like, but you're having a yard sale. She's like, I don't care. Let's go.
Yeah. And she leaves all her stuff there. So you think, like, oh, maybe someone's going to steal it. And then when she gets back, she's like, oh, thank God, when like the little teddy bear is still, nothing got stolen, but it's just funny. Like, I don't know. It's like the idea of being too cool for school. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there as kids. But then one thing that I really connected with, like high school Matt, was classmates. They're at the diner, and there's a classmate that comes up, and it says, and she says, what's her name?
Melanie? Melora.
Okay, so Melora comes up to them and is like, oh, hey, guys, I haven't seen you since the end of school. Like, what have you guys been up to? And they're just like, fuck this bitch. Like I hate her. Why is she talking to us? And then they're like, we have to switch diners because they come here now, and now it's not cool. We got to go to the other diner that's way cooler than this diner. And
I do like that she's one of those people. She's like, oh, let me tell you, I've been acting this summer.
Yeah.
And
no, I'm not going to say the person is annoying and stupid, but like that idea that like we hate this bitch, and she is being nice to them.
Yeah.
So it's like funny, like you can't, and they do like just pretend to be like, we'll call you for sure. Like, and I would never have done that. I just stared at them like dead face, like, why are you talking to me? But yeah, that was weird. Whenever like people from school, especially outside of school, like after I graduated, all of a sudden, no matter what happened in high school between us, best friends. Like, I know you from that place we were forced to go to. We're cool now, right?
Cool, yeah.
And I was like, I guess. I don't know. I remember when you beat the fuck out of me, so kind of, but I don't know. I guess you're cool now to me, so whatever.
You know, sometimes you get you meet somebody and they
just want to punch them in the face.
They don't always treat you the best, but you still end up best friends with them somehow.
I don't know what you're talking about, John. Are you talking about you and me? Because yeah, you were really annoying when I first met you.
I was annoying.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Anyway, read the guy in Ghost World. This got really deep, dark and personal.
It did. John almost had a flashback. Where'd I go? I lost time.
That's why I don't remember the movie. I had to block it all out.
Yeah, you're like, no, this is too close. This is too close. So then, like, yeah, I mean, we just go through these girls' lives. You know, we find out that Enid is, she's starting to dress like a punk because she goes through like a punk phase, and then she finds like someone says like, yeah, punk. And she's like, fuck. It's not punk, and then she like covers herself up because she's like, no, you're supposed to think it's not cool, and then I like it. So just like that kind of rebellion where you're like, if someone thinks it's cool, then it's not cool to me.
Anymore, yeah.
And then
she has to go. She is going to go see her favorite comic artist, the author.
Yeah.
And she goes to the store.
The author of this book. Daniel Klaus is her favorite comic artist.
So she goes to like the store later where he's doing a signing, and she sees him at the table. She's like, oh, she thinks he's like basically like an old pervert. So he's like, maybe I'm not going to be this guy.
Yeah, which is funny.
It's about him. I thought that was a fun little throw in.
Yeah. One thing that was super fucked up, probably the most fucked up thing in this book, is they have, when they meet that girl from their class, Melora, she's like, oh, did you hear about Sandy or whatever? I don't remember what this girl's name is, but Becky.
Becky, yeah.
It's like, oh, did you hear about Becky? And they're like, what? No. It's like that mole on her face, it was cancer. And it's like grown and it's all gross and her hair's falling out and she looks totally gross. And like, but she doesn't say that. That's kind of like what Enid says about her afterwards. Yeah. But then Melora is saying like, oh, like you might want to call her and like let her know you're thinking of her or whatever. And she's like, oh, totally, I will. And then like when she leaves, she's like, her face is probably disgusting. And then later they see her and there is like a giant growth on her face and she is bald because she's doing chemo and stuff, I'm assuming. And it's fucking messed up. And like she sees them through the window at the diner and she says, hi, Becky. And they just fucking ignore her. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like kids, right? Like how, and that's like the thing about this. We were kind of talking. This is not, the author is not saying this is correct or this is right or this is cool. He's just like a day in the life of teenagers, whether it's good or bad, whether they're assholes or not, which is a kind of interesting perspective from a writer because he's not throwing in like his judgments necessarily on everything. I'm sure there's little things that he's like, yeah, fuck those guys or whatever. But like, it would just fit in the character. He's not forcing that in.
Yeah.
But for sure, and he said in interviews, like sometimes, like I really like to write people that are unlikable. So he's not trying to say like these girls are cool and correct about their judgments of people, which I think a lot of high school kids that read this go like, this writer gets me. Because this is me. I am Enid, and that is everyone. A good thing. Yeah. And this is a cool way to act, you know? Like, I think if you're a teenager and you read this, you'd be like, this is like, I am into this. And like, if you're a boy, you're probably like, oh, these girls are so cool. I want to meet a girl like that. And then like, if you're a girl, you're like, I am this girl. Like, you know, so especially if you're like a disaffected youth. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure everybody has a different high school experience, but maybe some of them are like Melora or whatnot. But that was not me. So yeah, it's just like interesting to see these girls interact and to be so unlikable in a comic because they're kind of like it's kind of like when you watch a show or something and the characters are unlikable. Like I had this issue with Breaking Bad where I'm like, I hate everybody in the show. They're all terrible people except like was it Hank? You're not Junior, whatever his name, or Walt Jr.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, well he's not bad because he can't really be bad. But then like eventually you're like the only person I can really stand by. Like eventually Jesse Pinkman kind of redeems himself. And for some reason, I was like, you know, the only good character in this is Hank, which he's such an asshole at the beginning. You hate him automatically. Yeah. And then over the whole show, he's like the only character that's actually doing the correct moral thing or whatever. And you're like, wow, that's really messed up that like I hate all these other characters.
Yeah, his wife is terrible. Everybody's
terrible. Yeah. So, Yeah, like it's like that where like it's really hard for me specifically too to like in a story, if there's not something I like about these characters, it's hard for me to continue to read because I'm like, I don't care about them. But the art is really good in this, and you kind of want to see like where they end up.
I think, like you said, it's that fly on the wall perspective of like this is so, these are such odd characters that you can't help but just be like, where is this going?
Yeah, you want to see what they do next because like, you know, how horrible are they going to be next?
Yeah,
you know?
and I do like the extra teenage angst that he puts in with like their sexual frustration.
Yeah,
because like they keep mentioning like oh you definitely like so and so, you know, you want to fuck him or whatever, and they're like, no, like I definitely hate him, you know, like back and forth, and you can't ever
not
quite.
Only that, they randomly will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck that guy tonight," and not really mean it, but they're just talking like that. Like,
yeah, they just like they think it's cool to talk like that, basically, or like like
or maybe they are horny, but they don't know how to. Like, they're not good at talking to guys or whatever. You know, they're not in a relationship, so
yeah, they don't know how to work through that actual stuff. Like they talk once about, I think, like actually being kind of horny, and then there's like the one girl's like, well, have you not heard of masturbation? She's like, I try, but every time I just think of like some old teacher of hers, and she's like, it always ends weird.
It's just like weird shit like that with them. It's just, I don't know, it like I said, they are not likable characters, but you understand kind of where they're coming from as an older person, because you were also a stupid kid once and thought similar things to this, I would imagine. And the other thing you can also probably relate to is their friendship growing apart. You know, when you get out of high school, you're not forced to be with people all day. So, like, when you're in that situation in high school, you kind of, like, band together with anybody who's even somewhat nice to you or allows you to be in their group. Yeah, any kind of almost similar to me. Like, come on, let's hang out. We'll be friends. And sometimes you're great friends and you have that forever. But a lot of the times, you never talk to that person after you graduate because we were only friends because of that situation. It's like, you know, you're trapped on an island with someone. It's like, guess what? We're best buds. Because if not, we're just going to kill each other on this island. So.
I can really identify there because, like, I feel like in high school, I was one of those social butterflies. Like, I feel like I had something that I could have in common with every, like, group and clique. So, like, I made friends with a lot of people, and not to say that I wasn't genuine in, like, liking those people,
right.
But it's pretty obvious, like, once you, like you said, you take out that, like, forced to be together situation every day, like, then it's like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, we, like, have these things in common, but we're, like, we didn't hang out. We're not really close
we're not
friends.
Like
we're not
friends.
Yeah, we're not gonna, you know, go to movies together or whatever, so.
Yeah, and that's like, the interesting thing. You definitely see, like, Enid growing, like, in her own, like, just trying to be separate from everybody, and then that kind of includes Rebecca over the time. And then also you see Rebecca kind of start to get annoyed with Enid's antics. Like, in this one story, Enid, like, just to be like, I guess, against the grain, one thing they like to do is torture their friend Josh. Their friend Josh is a guy who is their age, maybe 1 year older or something, but he like, that's the guy they're always talking about. Like, oh, I'm gonna fuck Josh. Oh, I don't like Josh. Oh, I'm gonna fuck him anyway. Like, you know, like, but they never do anything. But they will go to him and be like, "You want to fuck?" And then, like, not. They'll just tease him. They'll say, like, "Hey, you want to take us into this sex shop?" And, like, we'll go look at stuff, and because he's 18 or something, so he can walk with them in there or something. And I guess it's okay. I don't know. And so they're too scared to go in by themselves. But if Josh goes with them, then it's like they're with their creepy guy friend who wants to look at porn, but they're just here. But they wanted to go in. And so, like, Josh just feels super awkward while these girls are like, "Oh my God, look how big that dildo is." And he's like, "Oh, can we go?" Like, I don't feel comfortable here. And you could definitely tell there's one time where he is like, she's like, "Oh my God, look at this porno mag. Look how big her tits are." And he's like, like, she, like, hands him the magazine to go look at something else, and he just, like, continues to look because he probably doesn't get it. This is the early 90s. There ain't no internet. Like, you don't get to see porn that often back then. So, like, I just thought that was funny. Like, it's like they're kind of torturing him for fun, and they know it, but also they don't know it. Like, they're like, you know, it's like they're almost aware of their sexuality, but they're not. Like, because he is, and we talk about this later on, Enid tries to come on to him, And he's like, oh my God, I've always felt like this. Like I never realized you felt like this. And then she like shuts it down. I can't remember why.
Because she was already having like a rough time because she doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, and her dad's wanting her to go to something like college thing. Right. But then she's kind of had this idea to just kind of like basically like run away and start a new life and be a new person. Somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
And like that kind of comes back to her because she there's something she wanted from her childhood, like I guess it was records, some old records.
Yeah, records.
And she talked to her dad about it. She's like, where are they? She's like, I'm not sure. And, but then he changes the subject of school and she's like, whatever. And so then she goes to see Josh. Right. And then they were talking, they were kind of getting intimate.
Yeah. It looked like they were about to have sex or something, or at least start making out and stuff.
And then she starts crying and
so that kills it. Right. She's just not in a mood for that.
Yeah. She's overstimulated for sure.
Yes.
Sure. Like with emotions of everything.
Yeah, right. That's bad choice of words. I'm just joking. So in that situation, it's like he's about to profess his love to her, but then she like cuts him off. Says, "Okay, whatever. We'll just ignore what I was about to say." And then later on, Rebecca also comes on to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like I think they actually do sleep together, right?"
I think they.
Oh, so that's what they imply at least, and so. Then it's like, John was like, I don't understand why he would do that. I'm like, John, you got to put yourself in high school John's mind. You might like a girl, but if another girl comes on to you, there is no way you're like, no, I like this other girl. Like,
yeah, not for horny high school teens. No, that's true.
No, there's no way. I mean, and not only that, but like the second a girl starts showing any interest in you, you're going to be like, I like you too. Like your mind just automatically like, she said hi to me, I like you. Like, now there's a crush. Like she mildly looked at me from afar, like, slightly glanced my way. Now I have a crush on you. Like that is how it is. At least when I was in high school, that's what. It was.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I totally felt for Josh, who's just like kind of strung along this whole time, and then he actually gets to sleep with them, but they're both like, or sleep with one of them, but they're both like, we don't actually like him. We were just kind of doing whatever, and yeah. So I was like, oh, Josh is kind of like the kid I would relate to in this book. But yeah, so like I should say, so anyway, back to the story where she takes Josh to the sex shop. She gets like an S&M mask that looks like a kind of like a Batman or Catwoman mask or something. And she's like, oh my God, Rebecca, you can't believe what I got today. Like this crazy mask. And then she's like, I'll wear it out when we go out today. And Rebecca's like, okay. And then the next time you see them, she's like walking with it. And Rebecca's like, please take that off. Like, it's just, she's sick of her antics. Yeah, she's just sick of this weird way of being, It just doesn't make any sense. Or like you just see them like falling apart, like slowly over this time. And then the thing that really gets in Rebecca's craw, I guess, is that Enid keeps talking about going to college, when they had talked about, like, I don't know, moving into an apartment together or, like, being together when they were in high school probably. Yeah. They were like, we're going to be friends forever. We're going to be roommates, and then we're going to, like, get out of this town together or something.
And I think the real thing about the college thing is that it's not that she keeps bringing it up as far as, like, conversation. It's that she brings it up, and it happens to slip in randomly. It's like she's not really telling her about the college stuff.
Right. She hasn't actually told her. Just every now and then she's like, oh, I'm applying for this college thing. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Since when? And it's like,
yeah, I thought you tell me everything, but you don't tell me this. Like,
yeah, so it just seems like it is like a secret. And then she's like, well, because I know you're going to blow up about it. And then that just makes it worse, Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff like that. But that's like the main thing that actually gets in between them throughout the summer is this concept of, her, Enid going to college and leaving Rebecca to, I guess, fend for herself or whatever. And yeah, it's like the main thing that really drives a wedge between their friendship.
Definitely. And then, like you said, Enid's antics. Like there's one other little story in here that I really liked. It's as far as like, the teenage like fucked upness of it is, so they get like a local magazine that's got like classifieds in it of like, like,
this is actually in the movie. That's the one thing. The movie actually strings a story through all this. Yeah. Like, so in the main movie, or the main storyline in the movie, Enid talks to Bob, the Don Knotts guy, she talks to him and then finds a personal ad, like you're saying, in a newspaper that says like, wanted, or no, it says like, were you the woman I saw at this thing? Like, if you were, call me at this number.
Yeah.
And they think it's hilarious to prank call it and be like, oh, I'm that woman and I want to meet you at the diner at this time.
Yeah.
And so then they meet him, and this is in the movie too, so it's like the same thing happens in the comic. And they go to see him, just to look at him from afar and laugh at him, go to the diner and be left alone.
And it's this other shitty diner that Enid started going to that's like a 50s themed
This
diner.
reminded me of like Jackrabbit Slims or something from
which
Steve Buscemi is a waiter at in Pulp Fiction. He's like, you want a milkshake? Or
what's that one that's in like all the Johnny Rockets or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's just ridiculously over themed as far as like, this is what it was like in the 50s hip hop or not hip hop. The like, come on down to the
sock hop.
There you go.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. I couldn't.
The hip hop.
I was thinking you said rabbit, so I had like rabbit hopping in my. Anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like this theme. Then like they make fun of like the waiter there and like all the stuff on the menu, and then
the waiter does have terrible like 80s hair, like 80s metal hair.
Yeah.
I can just see this kid being a metalhead, but you have to like dress like a 50s diner guy.
Yeah.
Except you have, Def Leppard teased hair, which is fantastic. I thought that was funny.
So it's just that, and then they have they go through the wanted ads, and then they find that one like the missed not missed opportunities, missed connections.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I saw you across the way, blah blah blah, and then they call him, and then they're like, meet me here, and so yeah, that is just so fucked up. They're like a couple tables away, and they're like, oh, that's got to be the guy, and he goes and sits down, yeah, and they're like, oh, he's so
And this is where I was like, that's fucking mean.
That is
like
terrible.
Just like fucking with this lonely guy.
It's like early Catfish, basically, kind of thing. But not even like...
You're not there. Yeah, you're not even there to do anything other than laugh at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like in the movie, that is like the impetus for a relationship that Enid and him have, where it's just a friendship. But it's a little more... It's not like a romantic at all, but it's kind of like... He's too old to be hanging out with kids, so it's kind of weird anyway.
Yeah.
But like... he kind of like, I think he gets her to like or he helps her with some kind of art show that she's doing. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but there's definitely that. And she feels bad for like being a dick and leading him on fake, with a fake phone call. So she actually helps him get like a girlfriend who she ends up hating. And also like he ends up like, hey, we can't really hang out anymore because I got this girlfriend and she thinks it's weird that I'm hanging out with like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old girl. So like we can't hang out anymore, and like that's like a big part of the storyline. Yeah,
interesting. Well, that sounds like it could be a natural progression of like something in the story. So,
yeah, and Dan Klaus wrote the movie too, I believe. So like it's not like someone else adding to it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I will definitely have to watch it for the first time.
Yes.
With y'all again.
With new eyes.
Yes. And again after reading this, because I enjoyed this story enough.
Yeah.
And I did like. So we get through that, and again, they've been having this, like obviously this tension building between them, and then you get towards the end of this, where it's like you said, like the end of the summer.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, did I say that story with the Don Knotts guy Bob is not in the
you mentioned
comic.
like
okay. I forgot. I was like, did I say that? Because it's only in the movie where they have like this full story arc.
Yeah,
but in the comic, they just see him and they laugh at him, and that's it.
No, and there's one thing towards the end where she's like, she doesn't get into the school, so she takes the test to go or whatever, like she's been studying for, and she doesn't get in. So she's like, well, like,
and
what am I gonna do?
She's been telling Rebecca, oh, I'm totally going now.
Yeah. Oh, she bought. Yeah, that's right. She bought a hearse.
Yeah, she bought a car.
She thought it was gonna be cool.
Of course, she bought a hearse. That's like the dumbest car.
How dare you? I know. I wouldn't buy one for logistic purposes, but I would buy one for like Halloween stuff.
For being a hearse driver? Is that
no, for Halloween stuff.
For Uber.
I would literally buy for Uber death. Do you not want to pay those funeral home costs?
Uber death.
We will drive your body.
Give us a call. We'll pick you up. Yeah.
I think we just discovered an untapped market.
I think that is an untapped market. Trademark. Matt Hansen and John. Playing shirts and comic books. Anyway,
so yeah, she buys a hearse, but then so it all falls apart. She's done getting to school, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to sell the hearse." So she's like, because she's basically thinking like, "I'm going to stay here now." I guess she's not sure what to do. So you can tell like her and Enid and Rebecca have kind of had like a bit of like separation ish a bit. Like they definitely aren't
Yeah, like at the beginning of the stories, they're together every day and hanging out every night. And by the end of it, they see each other once. You know, it's in August, I'm assuming, or something. And it's like, oh, we saw each other once that month.
Yeah.
You know? So it's funny how 3 months feels like forever when you're a kid. Like summer break, I remember being like, this is fucking. It's the biggest time off ever.
Summer loving had me a blast. Like, I mean, what is all Greece is all
John.
about?
Shut the fuck up.
That's
John.
Greece.
I'm judging you right now, just like Enid would be judging you.
It probably. Well, yeah, but I mean, the summer, anything can happen, right?
Sure.
You find summer love. You find
Tiny Toons. How I spent my summer vacation.
Exactly.
You know, it's a big. Deal.
You think you're gonna go. You think you're building up to this awesome trip to go to, Happy World Land, and then you just fucking take the monorail, and you're like, oh, we'll do the park next year.
That's a metaphor for life, if I've ever heard one. So, but yeah, when you're older, like 3 months in the summer is nothing. So this is really funny that like all this takes place over 3 months, and it seems like such a big thing in their lives, like a big time period. But it's actually like, oh, it's just like, 12 weeks. It's like, it's not that long. But yeah, it's just funny to think like they were inseparable 8 weeks ago, and now they've only seen each other once in this next couple 4 weeks or whatever. So
the end, it basically felt like they're basically are in different lives already at that point, because like Rebecca gets like a job local, like a donut or some kind of baker, because they have bagels and stuff too.
Yeah.
She's definitely dating Josh now at this point. Like they're a couple, it seems. And then like Enid, like, kind of only sees her in passing more now. And then like the very end of this, she sees she catches the person who's been graffitiing.
Yeah, we didn't say, but the whole like every issue starts off with like usually a graffiti of the words "Ghost World" on a wall in town, and yeah, like you said, she catches the guy like while she's trying to walk away, I guess, or like deciding whether she wants to leave the town or not. She's walking and she sees the graffitier, the Banksy. He's graffitiing Ghost World on the wall, and she sees it.
And I guess she's going to ask him like why he's doing it or something.
Probably
because she noticed there was one point where they were looking through old photographs, and she's like, and she found a photo of like when she was 8 where that was also graffitied that was taken. She's like, oh wow, like this has been going on in this town forever. Again, that kind of that metaphor of like this town's always the same. It never
if you stay here, you will also end up one of these townies that you make fun of. Basically what it is.
And so she basically the end, she sees her friend in the window, and she's like the only nice thing she said in the entire thing that's genuine. Yeah, like you've grown into such a like beautiful like young woman or something. Yeah, and then like has her little handbag, gets on a bus to like leave town.
I love her luggage is like 60s luggage too.
Yeah, just like literally like what's in there, like one pair of clothes, a hairbrush.
It's like a hat suitcase. Or something made. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And yeah, she walks off into the sunset. Yeah, she says, "You've grown into a very beautiful young woman," like you said, and then. Not to her face, not to Rebecca's face, just as she's looking at her from afar, she says that to herself. Yeah. And then walks away and takes a bus out of town. So you're like, oh, she got out. That's the thing maybe that's like the point of the story is like this counterculture girl like doesn't fit in this town. And so she goes, she actually makes it out. That's like the point. So, I've heard Daniel Klaus has told stories where, at least in a couple of interviews I saw where he was saying like, oh yeah, the girls would come up to me and be like, you're the reason I got out. I read this book and was like, there's something else out there. This guy is talking about it, and I want to be like Enid and get out of this town or whatever. So it's like I guess that's
cool.
good.
That's a good, that's good for inspiring.
But then like you read this when you're older and you're like, oh, these girls are so fucking annoying and terrible, and like horrible. Everybody in this town is horrible people, except the people they make fun of are just normal.
Yeah, they just living their lives.
Yeah, they're just going to a diner and having nice lunch.
The only person that came off a little was the Bob character because
but he didn't ever do anything untoward. He just was possibly being creepy.
Yeah,
but that could have just been because he was a weird guy in general.
Yeah, maybe he really did like the astrology and the palm reading stuff. That was just his thing.
Who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, he's the only one that was a little odd.
And in the movie, he's not creepy like that. Good. So that's why I'm like, I don't know, like with the context of the movie, there's no like, he's not trying to have sex with her or anything. He's just like, I need any kind of friendship, even with someone who's like way younger than me, that shows any interest. Okay, like that's better than nothing. And then like once he meets his girlfriend, who Enid helps him get, then he's like, this is weird. This is like, yeah, this isn't normal. So like, I gotta say goodbye. And that's one of the things that spurs Enid to be like, I gotta get the fuck out of this town. But,
this just popped in my head. That bit of that, at least like you're saying, gets a little bit more of a friendship in the story between like a younger person, older person. That seems like such an interesting trope that I'm like picking out in things in the 90s, as far as like a kid like becoming friend and literally just friends with an older adult, and like I guess maybe getting some kind of life experience out of that or something.
What?
I don't know. It just like I've popped in my head like this, and then I thought of like Doug, like he kind of is friends.
With the neighbor,
with the one neighbor guy, and then there's just little pieces like that are sprinkling in from like.
I guess 90s. I mean, there's always a little bit like that, but like in the movie, she is hanging out with him a lot, like. Yeah. Like they're going to record stores together. They're, it would look weird from the outside if in the movie he was like, hey, you want to be my girlfriend or some weird shit like that. Yeah. It would make sense. And everybody that sees them is probably like, oh, is he like fucking her?
Especially watching that now, like the zeitgeist is very much changed.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember even when I was younger, like I had some neighborhood friends that were older, but they were like. It just sounds weird coming out and saying it like that now, but like
John, are we about to get a revelation?
No.
Trauma revelation.
I remember when I lived in South Austin, we had a neighbor a couple houses down. I would hang out with him and his wife on occasion. They're an older couple. I think you're probably my parents' age, maybe a little older. They didn't have kids.
That is weird.
But like I would go down there and like help with their garden and stuff.
That's a little bit different.
So, but I'm just thinking about that, and it's like that definitely is like.
I have a weird story. I have a weird story now that you reminded me of. When I was a little kid, we lived in Las Vegas, which is a great town to live in when you're a kid, and we had a neighbor that was like this old Asian guy, and if you knocked on his door, he would just hand out candy to you at any time of the year.
Oh, whoa.
So, and it would be like Japanese candy, like interesting, different kind of tasting candy.
Things you never had, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, every week or so, I'd be like, I'm going to go get some candy, and like just knock on this random guy's door, and he'd be like, hey, you want some candy? Here you go. And then I would eat it.
Wow.
And then like never did anything weird or anything, just.
He just like,
nice
I love
guy. I love giving candy to kids for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like he was a serial killer for sure. I just wasn't his type.
He's like, you got to keep up appearances and give candy to everyone.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. I hate this kid. He takes so much of my candy. But yeah, I don't know. That's weird shit that like. But we weren't friends. Or I didn't hang out at his house or something. I'm trying to think. There was never like any adults that I went over to hang out with. Like there were always the older kids, but not like older people like that I would go to their house and hang out.
There was another guy I remember now, he and his wife had Great Danes, and we had a Great Dane for time, so like we had connected on that as far
common.
As
there you go.
Yeah, so it's that thing. And then like I hung out with them sometimes too. I don't know. My folks were just like, yeah, get out.
Yeah, get out of the fucking house. We don't like you. Anyway. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, this book is interesting from like if you're looking at it from different points of view, like remembering back when you were a teenager, or if you are a teenager and you read this, or if you're an adult and you're just like, oh, these kids. But then at the same time, I can remember what I was like, so I'm sure I was terrible. So, yeah. Anything else we need to cover, John?
No, I think we hit all the major points of it. So,
all right. Well, what would you give it? What did you think?
Like I said, with the context of feeling like I've never heard of this story, and reading it and not having anything jogged, I felt very, I felt like you said, it was a cool and different way of having the comic, because again, it felt like a fly on the wall. It felt very much like just being dropped in at random points in these people's friendship and like just seeing them progress. It was a cool and interesting way to do the story. You like still having a little bit of an arc, but really just being like days in a life of. Yep. So it was cool, and I really enjoyed that. Actually, I thought that was really fun. The art is solid. You know, it's his style, obviously, but it fits. And yeah, I mean, I liked it overall. And like you said, like there were moments I was like, man, fuck these girls. And then I'm like, well, you know, I did something like that once. So
yeah.
You know, it's like, it's shitty, but I definitely didn't go as far as Enid sometimes. Good Lord. But yeah, like, you know, I was able to connect with it too, even, you know, now. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I would give it an 8. It was solid.
Oh, wow. That's pretty high. I did not think you were going to give it that high of a rating.
Yeah, I liked it.
So I have a weird mixed relationship with these alt comics because
this is granted, this is your wife's favorite. So
yeah, that doesn't have any.
Okay.
So like alt comics is something that I do not like. Just like I've tried them, they just don't do it for me usually. So
alt-right comics are
not those.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I love those.
Wow.
But anyway, I don't know if there's any actual alt-right comics. That was a joke, people. I'm joking.
Do not cancel us. Only Matt.
So anyway, no, don't cancel me.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, so like I am doing my best to get into alt comics. Like, and it's interesting because the interest is there in my mind. Like people I respect talk about these comics like they are something to be revered, and you know, like Ed Piskor, you know, who we've done like the Grand Design stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we did
Red Room,
and what was the other one? Oh, we did the Hip Hop Family Tree.
Yeah.
So like I love his stuff, and he talks about Dan Clowes like he is fucking the best cartoonist of all time. And so is Jim Rugg, the other guy that does a podcast or the podcast and YouTube channel with him. And I'm just like, it's kind of one of those things like I appreciate the artisticness of it. I just haven't quite connected with it yet. And I don't know if it's because it's like the storytelling or something or what it is. But like I really do respect the art in it. Like the art is fantastic. The stories that are in there, when you like put them together as a whole, there is a narrative in there like about these girls. But when you're reading it in real time, it doesn't feel like we're just here for this moment. We're here for this moment. We're here for this moment. It doesn't feel like there's an overarching narrative. So it's, I don't know. This, I would say Dan Clowes is like the best like alt comic cartoonist out there. So there are other people that they talk about like Bag. I think I can't remember what his first name is, but Peter Bag, I think is his name. He did like hate comics and stuff. And this is the same line. This is like the 90s version of those Freak Brother comics and like psychedelic hippie comics that like R. Crumb would draw and shit in the 70s. So like, I don't like those either. So like, this is me really trying to, and not because I think they're bad. I just, something about it just doesn't click with me.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, everybody has their taste.
Story-wise. So I've been like forcing myself, like, you're just not getting it, Matt. You got to read this and figure it out, like kind of thing. So that's why I was like, let's do it. Because I've read 2 of his stories now. One we're going to do later. Another one, this one is the one we decided to do first because it is like a movie and whatnot. And then, and there's a bunch of others that I want to get just to kind of like force myself to get exposed to it. Because I think a lot of it sometimes like you haven't been exposed to it. And once you find that one that does connect with you, and even us talking about this, I'm like, oh yeah, like I kind of was this kid in high school, you know?
I felt that way about manga and one time.
Right, yeah, you got to find the right one.
Never really. But yeah, then we read that. I was like, I love Dragon Ball.
If you read Fire Punch first, then yeah, you're not going to connect with it. But yeah, if you read, you know, like honestly, Berserk, I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like, and you know, I could read stuff like the Junji Ito stuff and be like, okay, like this is cool, but it's a one-off. But like with Berserk, because that story is so long and epic, I couldn't put that fucking book down. Like everything about it was amazing. So that was like the first one that I really kind of connected with for manga. So yeah, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm like forcing myself to read these and trying to like understand why other people connect with them so hard, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, why did my wife read this and go like, yes? Because I don't, you know, I don't think I would have read this as a teenager and been like, yes. I might have been like, oh, I kind of understand what they're talking about. But I would probably would have been the guy that's like, that's the hipster. I'm too cool for those hipsters.
Yeah.
I would have out hipstered the hipsters or something. So, but yeah, like, so for art and everything, this is like an amazing book. Story wise, I mean, I would, after talking about it with you, I like it more than I did when I finished it and gave it to you to read. So, I feel like, yeah, I think I would give this one, like, if we're just going on like comic book art and artisticness, I would give it like an 8, like you're saying. But like for me personally, it's like a 7, or maybe even like a 6.5.
I was like, 7 sounds even high for you on this.
But it's because the art is so good. Like I think I can really look at that aspect of it, and it will like, kind of like when you read like an Image comic from the 90s, you're like, what? Who gives a shit about this story? Look at those Rob Liefeld ankles. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was wondering. I'm waiting to find one of these comics where we're like really divided on, and we really haven't had that yet.
Yeah, I would say this is, like I said, I'm trying to work myself into understanding why I don't like this. Why should I like? I should like this. I think I would. But like, for me, like comics is more superheroes and other kind of sort of crime and stuff. I have no problem with any of that. But for some reason, alt comics, just like a day in the life of this person, it's kind of like just not my thing generally. So
maybe you're more of that. I'm just spitballing here. Are you more of like that escapism, and so this is too real life for?
It's not too real life. I just find it pointless. Like, what is? It's a summer for kids. Okay. Like, what is the bigger, grander narrative? What is the storyline of this? Like, we couldn't, if we just sat here and read like we normally do, issue through issue or chapter by chapter, it would seem very like, and today they did this, and then today they did that. So a lot of the concepts are all your mind taking the whole story as a whole and, putting it in some kind of narrative form for you to relate to. So that's why, like, us talking about it, I am like, oh, yeah, like, I was like this in high school. But when I just read it, I was just like, oh, man, these people are fucking terrible. And then we were reading, like, each one little vignette, you know? So I think that's what it is. It seems like it's pointless or monotonous because it is, like, a day in the life. And the humor is there, but it's, like, asshole hipster humor. So, like, the humor, I guess, as, like, a reader should be, like, they're such dicks. Look how like they judge everybody. They're terrible. But like I said, if you're reading this when you're in high school, you're like, yeah, look at those stupid Satanists. Like I like these girls or what. Like, these girls are cool. So it's kind of like it. Like if you watch Beavis and Butthead, and like there are people who just don't get it, and like because it is just two idiots doing stuff, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like I get why you wouldn't like that. I personally think it's hilarious, but yeah, like there's just something about alt comics that really strikes that, like, what is the point of this kind of thing to me? So I'm really trying to work over that hump because it is so artistic. It is someone doing like the art of comics all by themselves, trying new things, expanding the medium, reaching out to a separate kind of audience that isn't at a comic book store. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's all really cool. And that's why I'm like, I must find the value of this stuff, and I felt like that when I read like the Beat Poets stuff in the 50s, when you read like Charles Bukowski or what's the other guy, I don't know, the guy who did Hal, I can't remember his name, all those like Beat Poets and also like writers from the 50s that are like the Beatnik writers, the On the Road, Jack Kerouac, that kind of stuff. It's just like, and then the guy did this, and then the guy did that, and then the guy did that, and then the guy did this, and that's the end of the book, and there's no resolution. Like, like it's just following a person through this thing. And I read a lot of that, and I felt like I actually understood it after a while. And there are books of those that I like now. But I had to put in the work, you know what I mean? Like, I had to figure out why I like this stuff. Or why I need to like this stuff. So I get it now for those kind of things. But I haven't quite got it yet for the alt comics. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 fully. And I had to give that whole explanation of why. But also like if you are really into comic book art and you are like, you get it, if that's your thing, like you can read alt comics and understand it, then this might be like an 8, a 9, a 10 for you, So this is just my shitty opinion, not understanding all comics yet. So, yeah. Anyway, so we have started our new format. So we're doing twice a month now instead of 4 times a month. But we are also doing a Patreon exclusive now. So we are going to, for the Patreon exclusive this month, we are doing a new Batman story that came out 2016, I think, somewhere around there, by this artist / author. It's his first.
It's up and coming.
Yeah, it's his first like big DC work. He did some stuff for Vertigo. This guy, there was like this whole thing. I remember seeing it where like all of a sudden all these badass artists came out of nowhere with 3 names. It was like Daniel Warren Johnson and Sean Gordon Murphy. And like there's all these 3 named people, and I was like, I guess that means you're badass if you got 3 names, you know? So Sean Gordon Murphy was given like an imprint unto himself that they're calling the Murphyverse now because it was such a big hit. But originally they were just like, we're going to give you a Batman book, and it's in his own continuity, and that continuity is Batman animated series and Batman 89. So it's the mix of those 2 kind of continuities. And then he goes from there and builds off.
Which sounds amazing to me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and it's not fully that the whole time. He does after he's currently on the 3rd volume of this series. But it is Batman White Knight, which the art, I mean, his art is fucking phenomenal, amazing. I can't talk about it enough. It's so cool. But and then also like I listen to podcasts and stuff with him. He just seems like a cool guy in general. I got a bunch of stuff signed by him at Austin Books this last year, and he signed everything I brought. And I was like, I know you're like, I'll just pick a couple of these. He's like, no. I'll sign everything, even though I've been here for 3 hours. And,
that's how you know he's a nice guy.
Yeah. And he took a picture with me, like he didn't have to do that. He was super nice. So like, that was super cool. I got all shaky and like scared and embarrassed.
So what we're saying is if you want to come on the podcast, Sean, we're here for you.
Yeah, we're here for it. That would be like, we don't do many interviews, but that would be one I would totally do and totally fuck up. I would be like Chris Farley, like, so remember when you drew White Knight?
That was awesome.
Remember when you said the love that you take is greater than the love that you make? Or is he, whatever the fucking line is from the Beatles. Yeah.
Is that true?
Is that true? Yes, exactly. So yeah, we're going to do Batman White Knight, and that's going to be like we just picked that one first. But we might start maybe giving you guys like a poll on the first week of each month to vote on what you want us to read, possibly for that. We'll see. Maybe we'll ask in a poll what you guys want. Do you want to vote for that, or you just want us to pick special ones? Because we're trying to do ones that we haven't got to yet, like maybe big epics like Watchmen or the book Monsters that I liked a lot a couple years ago. Or even things like Berserk, where we could do the entire series or a good chunk of it. Maybe the first big arc that is like 6 or 7 volumes of I think it's 6 or 5.5 volumes of the big ones. So I think that's probably like 20 mangas worth or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we want to do stuff like that. Give you guys something that we wouldn't normally do on the podcast.
Yes. So again, so that means Batman White Knight. If that's one that you're interested in and you want to hear, sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. We've got several tiers to choose from. That one is on every tier. You automatically get that. We have some special tiers where if you like Matt Sminnie's Swamp Thing, you can hear him do Hellblazer. That's right. John Constantine. What is that fucker up to? Matt will let you know.
I'll let you know where he was up to in 1991. Because we're going through every issue, just like Swamp Thing, and we're currently at issue 44, I think, or 45.
So you're gonna get 44, 45 episodes, and every Patreon exclusive podcast. That is a hell of a deal going forward. So definitely check that out if you want to listen to One Night. Maybe we'll release them down the line for everybody, but for right now, they are all Patreon members get an exclusive podcast once a month. For our next one, for everyone, that podcast will also be exclusively picked by our Patreon.
Yes.
So Patreon will pick it. Everybody will get this episode, but the patrons get to pick which one we're doing.
Yeah.
And this month, because we're kind of in the month of, thanks, you give thanks is kind of the theme.
Sure.
These comics will be, thank God this is not something that happened to me in my life.
Yes.
So if you want to vote on some crazy kind of fucked up stories, definitely check out patreon.com, Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
Yes.
Go check it out now.
What are the ones we're picking?
Oh, we're going to throw them out there? Okay, with that Texas Blood Volume 2, Ice Cream Man Volume 1, Touching Evil Volume 2, and Punk Rock Jesus.
Yes.
Which also kind of, I think, fits into that into the
Thanksgiving
the thanks theme.
Sure.
Know.
Don't say that until you've read it, John.
I don't know. That's true.
But yeah, so all of those are kind of like stories we just thought were like, oh my God, thank God this isn't happening to me kind of thing. Just lots of fucked up things, especially in Ice Cream Man and whatnot. We'll give you like a breakdown of what those are to vote on for the patrons.
Yeah.
So if you are at all interested in picking which one we want to do, or we're going to do once a month at the very end, the second podcast of the month is going to be our Patreon pick one, but you will also, that'll be, everybody can listen to that one. So, but you'll get to vote on it if you are a Patreon member. And then you'll get a exclusive Patreon one episode as well in the month. So if you like John said, if you'd like to join that, go to patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
Well, so we have all of our other social medias out there. We've got YouTube, but Matt's throwing exclusives up all the time. I will have more reviews coming eventually of some shows and stuff coming out. We've also got our TikTok, Twitter. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels.
Yes. And with that, I think we're all done.
Yep. We'll see you on the next one.